matching center back. See, seam on top of a seam at center back. You will have notches. So a notch that you have on a front opening, this notch is a break point. Anybody knows what break point is? No?
Yeah.
You do? Now, break point means that the color turns the opposite way at this point. It breaks. It falls one way and it falls the other way. This is what it is. You can see it more clear on a notch color, right? So break point right there. So my first button will be right in this place. So we have this notch, and you might have more than that. I'm not sure if I placed them accurately as I was cutting. Doesn't look like it. Okay, now it's better. Okay, and then same story on the opposite side. So your right and left sides need to match exactly. Okay, otherwise the color will never sit properly on a neckline. So my seam allowance here is 1/4, and oh, a pin got right into my stomach. Okay. We keep sewing. This is probably the easiest step, just to go nicely around. Okay, so of course, in order to reduce bulk, I will cut my seam allowances at the center back on the angle. Okay. Just the seam allowances, not the fabric itself. And then we need to understitch. So how do we understitch? So right here is my notch. Okay. So I will put a pin. This is my break point. So let's go right here. So now you see how color breaks. So one part goes out, and basically my understitching is happening on the front and the collar itself, right? So that it's invisible right here outside from the facing side. And the other part is hidden and understitched on the facing. So technically you need to do it on both sides. Also, right, my notch is somewhere here. Can't see at the moment exactly. So the break point is this way, right where my pin is. So the button and buttonhole will be right here. If I stitch all the way to my notch while my collar is breaking, I will see the understitching. Therefore, we usually move like inch or inch and a half up, inch and a half down. So about 2 or 3 inches total are not understitched, and this is where the break is happening. Okay? All right, so I put the pin there, and I will put the pin on the other side so I have a reference. Okay. Now I will sew. I will do the upper part first, it's longer. So obviously we are on half scale, so I will do less than an inch Now I'm understitching around the collar. All my seam allowances are directed towards the front, so non-fused side. To make sure that you push them apart nicely, then your pressing will be like walk in the park. And then you stop about the same distance away from your pin as you start. Oh, I was waiting for you. So now we'll do the bottom part. I will rotate my seam allowances towards the facing. And approximately the same distance from the pin, I will do the same thing, but now it's on the opposite side. From the inside, it looks like your seam allowance is twisted. You don't need to clip it, because as you put these two pieces together, the seam allowance inside will fall in place nicely.
So now you're sewing the fused part.
Yeah,
I thought the rule was
like you
never-
see what is happening here?
Yeah.
It looks like it's twisted, but when I fold, my seam allowance
Those
is fine,
directions.
right? Nothing is happening. What did you think?
No, it's because I've always told myself, which echo everything you said, don't ever understitch on the fusing.
Why?
I don't know. it's
Oh,
easy.
because
I have it on tape.
I know. Okay, I said that.
I don't know. That's what I thought.
Usually you understitch to the face and
On the
around
Now
the
you see the
neck.
facing here is fused, right? And it becomes part of the collar. So in this case, this is what is happening. So I cannot
Yeah.
stitch on this
No,
part
no.
logically, never on the fusible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what do
Which
I do
is what
here?
you're referring to, is
Yeah.
never stitch,
Right.
understitch on the fused side. Yeah.
So now on the
Oh,
opposite
from the-
side.
No,
that's
yeah.
what you mean. Yeah,
Except
usually
in this case.
except in this.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just take it and see what you're saying.
Well, in this case, fusing is inside, and it needs to be understitched. Okay, so I can remove my pins. So now I know where roughly my break point is, and I need to go and press this flat before I do the next step.
So
Or
the
different-
essence of
Now,
that,
now what you also need to do, so now that I'm going pressing, I might search here since I forgot earlier. It's better later than never.
You mentioned it while we were pressing.
I did mention it, but I
Yeah,
never
that's,
showed it to you that it should be
At some
done.
point before you start putting it all
Right, so
together.
you surge it, so now I'm going to press, and if I forgot to do it earlier, now I
Now's
can
the
flatten this with my pressing as well. Okay, so